Absolute pleasure now. Huge fight coming up for him. We haven't seen him in, I think it's coming on 3 years, but this one is an absolute banger. He's fighting Anthony Pettis, former UFC champion, at the PFL season opener in Arlington, Texas. It is the returning, and always a pleasure to speak to this man, one of the vets of Irish MMA, one of the old school faces, Mr. Myles Price. Myles, my man, great to see you. How's everything with you, brother? How you keeping in Kilkenny?
Hey Niall, not too bad, my bro. Well, I'm in Dusseldorf at the moment, but it's really great to see you, and thanks very much for having us on. I appreciate the kind words. Absolute
pleasure. Myles, right, this is a huge fight. It's one of those ones where I think everyone sort of went, oh my God, Anthony Pettis, Myles Price. What an unbelievable fight for Irish MMA and for you. First of all, I want to go back a little bit. Obviously, the time out, we haven't seen you in action since Peter Queally. I know your mum was sick. I hope she's doing okay now. What's that time out been like for you? Has it been rejuvenating? Has it been refreshing? What's the sense? What's the feeling with you going into this fight?
I definitely feel like the time off has been silver lining for me. I think the pandemic, in a lot of ways, for a lot of people, probably was a silver lining. I feel like that I used the time very wisely, and I got to, enjoy life and work on a lot of things in the meantime, like, in regards to different elements of my game. Delved a lot into education again, which I really enjoyed, and yeah, it kind of it was great the time off, to be honest with you. Thanks very much for asking about my mother as well. She's doing fine now. She's good and healthy, so I'm looking forward to getting back in there. It's been a good long time. Like 3 years is a long time to not have competed, but I've been getting a lot of hard sparring in, and I've been doing the necessary sports psychology side of things in order to prepare me for a good return. So
yeah, you mentioned that. I know that's something you're big into, is the sports psychology. I think you see a guy twice a week, if I'm not mistaken. How vital has that been, maybe over the last sort of 2-3 years, to maybe keep you in check, get a sort of different perspective of yourself from someone else? Has that been key to keeping you grounded mentally?
Of course, I feel like that's super important. I think it's important not to be a fanatic of any particular area of psychology, but there's definitely some subconscious goings on in everybody's mind, no matter what. And so to get like a different perspective, an outside perspective twice a week in regards to something that's as challenging as martial arts and everyday life stuff, and to help mold that into a more concrete version of yourself, and constantly getting that outside perspective and challenging your mindset, I think it's a huge advantage, really, as for an athlete. Like, I don't just make assumptions. I really do keep an open mindset, and I constantly keep challenging myself. So to have that time for the last couple of years to delve deep into that and to my own academic studies, I think has been a huge advantage. Yeah, for sure.
And tell me, was there mental challenges? Did you have any, obviously, dealing with your mum? That's a very, very tough thing to obviously go through. The pandemic as well. Was there mental challenges, mental issues during that period of time?
Of course, especially with my mum falling sick, and she was very she needed me as well to support her. So that was it's not like it was. She was in a different country and she had people to care for her. I had to care for her. So it was a different kind of scenario to most, I suppose. Well, lots of people go through that as well. And I feel like the pandemic for everybody was hard.
Yeah.
To some degree, regardless of your situation, the pandemic is going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging for everybody. So I think those two things tie together. And, I haven't kept it a secret. I wasn't particularly pleased with how Bellator treated me as an athlete. So that did have an effect on me at the time, for sure. So I think those kind of three was a silver lining for me. I feel any sort of challenges like that, and that's just life. That shit happens like that sometimes. Excuse my French. So just had to get over it, and that's it.
Excuse your French. You're talking to how bad my language is, Myles, so don't worry about that. Bloody hell. Way worse than that. But listen, you mentioned the Bellator thing, and I think, myself and Peter Carroll were doing the bash. We used to often speak about that. We were, the way maybe Bellator handles some of their fighters that maybe weren't an SBG at the time. The SBG guys, the sort of a narrative that maybe they got a slightly better push than everyone else. How bitter, how pissed off were you the way that was handled, especially after that performance against Peter Queally? That was a phenomenal fight, and it just seemed to, whatever happened, I don't know, maybe you can tell me what went on there. It was very, very disappointing.
So basically I went back over to AKA to train for a fight that I was assuming I'd get on the main card again, and basically I was over there, and then I was told by the matchmakers that I'd be fighting towards the bottom of the card against somebody coming off, an athlete coming off a 6-year layoff. And it was kind of like a lose-lose situation for me, really, you know. And I completely understand where the business side in regards to SVG comes from, but it doesn't mean I should have to play the game. I don't have to play that game, you know. Like, I have to put self-worth and value on myself, and that's essentially what I did. And at the time, I think I was I reacted to it a little bit more emotionally than what I would have liked, and it was a big learning curve for me. I feel like there was a little bit more of an attachment to the situation than there should have been, because I care, of course, about my career, and I care about how athletes are treated, especially myself. Anybody would. And yeah, that's kind of how it went, really. Like, you know, it's just that they were like, no, it's like Peter's getting this guy at the top of the card, and that's the way it is, and we're pushing him, and that's pretty evident. Like, Peter's a great fighter, like, I mean, you know, why wouldn't they? But it just didn't make sense for me, you know. It was a lose-lose situation, you know?
But why do you think that was, though, ultimately, the way that panned out?
Because I feel like John Kavanagh has probably a deal going on with Scott Coker and Bellator as a promotion. I mean, like, I think anybody that's in the game would make that assumption. I'm not saying that's facts, but I mean, it would be a pretty strong, I'd say it would be a pretty strong assumption. Like,
yeah, I would agree. Obviously PFL, man, a huge promotion. And I was actually, I'm not going to name the fighter now, I was speaking to the fighter a number of weeks ago, and he said, you know, he's had an offer here too from the UFC, but he's just so happy with the way PFL have treated him in terms of his contract, how the promotion has really asserted himself towards him. Is that the case with PFL? How did that relationship first of all come about? How did you eventually sign that deal with PFL? Because to be honest with you, over the last couple of years, I've heard nothing but good things from fighters who are actually fighting for PFL.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so far they've treated me really well. They flew me out to London for the press conference where they announced they'd be on Channel 4 a few weeks ago, and I met the president, which I'd say is probably a rare occurrence unless you're a hype train like in the UFC. So it was just great to actually shake hands with the CAO, and they've treated me really well financially, and they've just only given me support so far. You know, I don't want to throw all my eggs into one basket, like, but I mean, so far, yes, of course, they've treated me really well, you know. And I met some great people over at the press conference as well. Met Brendan Loughnane and did a bit of training with Stevie Ray, who I'm still in contact with now. He's Brilliant. A great guy. So yeah.
I know both the lads well. Brendan's a gas man. I love Brendan. He's nothing but a good fella, as Mr. Loughnane, and looking forward to seeing him get back in there as well. He obviously came very close last year in the featherweight season. Listen, tell me about this as well. It must be a very sort of, you know, you must feel a great sense of pride, because PFL has really picked up in the last 2 years, as I've said. You know, we've seen the rejuvenation in terms of money in towards them be on ESPN in the States. You said now, obviously Channel 4 now in the UK. There must be a great sense of pride for you to be the first Irish fighter to ever represent your nation in the PFL season. That's an incredible achievement and accolade for you to have, man.
Thanks very much. If I was being honest, Niall, it's kind of not really sunken in yet, because I'm focusing so much on the fight coming up, you know. So it is like, I have a massive sense of pride when it comes to that, you know. Like, I feel like that, you know, there's been plenty of times in my career where I've really doubted myself. I've doubted my abilities. I've doubted my ability to do well in the sport, and to thought about retiring a couple of times, to be honest with you. I've never said that before, but I have actually felt like that a lot. So, I mean, to come from the backyards of fighting on all sorts of shows where I just have a bit of striking, the start of MMA and the roots, right up to representing Ireland in PFL, the first fighter to do so against a caliber of opponent like this is huge, like, you know, and I hope it just brings that Irish MMA into the light that little bit more, and in particular from my county, Kilkenny, you know, like, I mean, of course I'm going to represent the old Cats, you know. I wish I could wear me hurling shorts for sure. Look, unless they want to give me a lot of money and be a sponsor, I ain't doing that.
Get on board. Contact Myles.
That's it.
That'd be amazing if that happened. If we did.
Brian Cody, come on.
Yeah, go on, Brian. Sort it out, Kilkenny boss. Get in. Are you a fan of King Henry still after taking over the reins of Galway?
Here. I know everyone's a bit sour about that, but look, sure, like, that's just the game, and like big time. I can't say shit. Anyway, I was apparently a rat. Anyway, when
the rat. That's all you are. You're a rat, Myles.
Yeah,
Myles Splinter
true.
Price.
Yeah, me and Henry are best of mates now, sure.
Speak to me about that. Have you been over at AKA at all? Obviously, that, you know, you've trained over there with Khabib before. I know you're in Germany at the moment, but have you been over in AKA at all in the last couple of years?
I just literally the week before the lockdown, the very first lockdown in the pandemic, I was booked to go over to AKA again to train for 3 months, and then the pandemic happened, obviously, so that didn't work out. And I stay in contact with the guys a lot, in particular Kyle Crutchmere I chat to a lot. I touch base with Javier Mendez as well, and we chat every now and again. And but that's pretty much it, to be honest with you. I haven't been back. I would have loved to have been back for this camp, because it would have kind of aligned pretty okay, because of Khabib and all the lads are over there preparing as well for their upcoming fights on Bellator, and Islam was fighting Bobby Green. But to be honest with you, it just really worked out well for me to come here to Germany, because financially it's quite expensive to go to San Jose and to travel over to the States. And yeah, it's just nice to be somewhere that's a bit closer to home as well, you know.
Yeah, you spoke about the traveling, obviously, you know, obviously your team Rhino, and you know, going up to HQ and Andy Ryan, it was very taxing on you to, you know, make that commitment to travel up nearly every day. I think it's like what is it, 2-hour drive up and back from Kilkenny to Dublin. Is that the reason why you're in Dusseldorf in Germany now? Just so you get to have a home, you can put the head down, no traveling, focus on obviously this upcoming fight?
Pretty much, yeah, to be honest. When I'm home, it's really hard for me not to care about everybody else other than myself. Obviously, I'm able to manage it. It just takes up that little bit more energy when I'm training in my home gym. And then the sense of responsibility is there with the business, because I run 2 businesses. I'm an online coach and obviously a gym owner as well. Yeah, so it's nice to be away and to just kind of manage that from afar, and to prioritize myself. And as much as I love training at HQ, it's my home. It's where I've been fighting now for years now. I did a little bit, a good bit of training there before I came here to Germany, and I just said, look, I have to put my body first pretty much, because the traveling's just a little bit too much for me. Like, you know, I mean, you nearly have to do an hour of yoga just getting out of the car at 10, half 10, 11 o'clock at night, you know, after doing all the traveling. So you'd be in bits, like.
And who are you working with there? Is there, you know, what's the camp been like there? Have you got like your set training partners? Is there guys maybe we might know that you've been working with over there?
Do you know, a lot of KSW guys.
Brilliant.
Roberto Soldic, I've been training with a good man, and he's
a
really
killer.
Good. Yeah,
Roberto's an absolute killer.
He's a killer. I've done a good bit of sparring in with he is. He hits like a train. He actually really does hit like a train. Yeah, and Abus Mamedov, Arthur, I forget his second name.
Sawinski.
There's I think so. I forget. Loma Lee is really good as well. It's something like that.
Brilliant. Well, listen, if you're working with Roberto Solic, that speaks volumes of, you know, Roberto's obviously a double champ with KSW, an absolute stud. I think, you know, that guy's seriously going places in the next number of years. That's an incredible training partner to have over there. And are you enjoying the culture over in Germany? It's a little bit different. You know, I've a good friend in Dusseldorf as well. Is it Dusseldorf?
That's right.
Yeah, I have a good friend in Dusseldorf as well. So yeah. You enjoying it there?
Do you know, I absolutely love it here. Yeah, I really like the people. Love the kind of, it's a very arty, kind of stylish, fashionable scene over here, you know. And
So
yeah,
it'd suit me well, would it?
It's great.
I'm a bit of a trendsetter.
Style icon. Yeah, Zoolander, Irish Zoolander there.
Zoolander. How dare you? How dare you? Yeah. So talk to me about the corner. Who's going to be over in your corner? Is it going to be the guys from the gym there in Dusseldorf, or is Andy or Javier or anyone going to be there in Arlington, Texas?
Well, they're only able to fly out one cornerman, so I'm gonna get Andy to come out with me. Like, you know, he's always going to be priority in regards to doing my corner. Like, you know, so he's been in my corner for years now. So, you know, you just need that person there that's been with you through the thick and thin of it all. So yeah, I wouldn't feel right if I didn't have him there, really. And my manager is going to be over there as well, so he's going to probably help out in the corner as well. Like, yeah,
brilliant. And you've obviously signed with that management company. Sorry, refresh the name of the management company you've signed with.
UFD Sports Management. They also own this gym as well.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. Was that, you know, was that vital in you getting signed to the PFL, having that management structure in place?
Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't have gotten the deal if it wasn't for them, to be honest with you. They have very strong connections in PFL. So I did an interview with Ian O'Neill from Severe.
I know Ian,
MMA,
yeah.
And then basically somebody on PFL heard the interview, and then they messaged Ian and said, we want him on our roster.
Oh wow.
And then I messaged my manager and I said they actually want me on the roster, and then they just signed me, and that was it. Yeah.
Wow, that's a fantastic story. Kudos to Ian O'Neill from Severe MMA. That's absolutely amazing story.
Yeah, I know. I was delighted. I couldn't believe it. It was great.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff. Listen, you spoke about the R word. You know, retirement. How long is left in the tank? Is it, you know, is it 3-4 years? You know, 2 years? What's the situation there? And why? You know, is there just those doubts, those lingering doubts to maybe the business end of things and the way things are done and handled in mixed martial arts? They're obviously not fair at times. I think we totally understand that. Obviously, with the whole Bellator situation we saw with you, did it just get a little bit too much at times? And you were going, "Oh, you know, am I arsed going on with this? If this is the way the sport works?" Were you disillusioned possibly with the sport?
Well, that's definitely a factor, to be honest with you. Yeah, that would have had an effect for sure. Now, not so much. I mean, I have a couple of years left, but I'm not going to leave for those reasons. I feel like I'd be leaving for the wrong reasons if that was my mindset, to be honest with you. You know, that's more frustrating than anything else. But I'm going to leave on my terms, you know. Like, I feel like entering into this tournament and fighting the caliber of my next opponent is me really giving everything and finishing on my terms, no matter what. Like, and, the reason why I would be leaving the sport is because I'm going back to study clinical psychology and up in Dublin. Like, I'd like to get into Trinity. That would be like where I'd like to go. So I found a real passion for it over the last couple of years. So I've done a few courses too. So that would be the reason why I'd leave, to be honest with you. It's not because for any other reason other than I just want to pursue an academic.
Fair play.
Go back to education, pretty much. Yeah. Fair
play to you. That's incredibly admirable, and God, but best wishes with that. I really do mean that. I hope that goes well for you.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, listen, and we did speak about this before we came on a little bit, and you know, Anthony Pettis hasn't really had a great time since he's come into PFL. He's lost his first 2 bouts for the promotion. Is this possibly a good time to get Anthony Pettis as a fighter?
I was talking about this on All Things MMA with Ken McGuire there as well, and I think that that should be taken into consideration 100%. Look, the fact of the matter is, it's not a prime Pettis. He didn't look great in his last 2 performances, and you know, he's waking up. I don't know. I forget what the quote is. It's some quote anyway about it's hard to get up and go for a run where you're sleeping in silk sheets or some shit like that. Yeah. Like, I think he kind of has that lifestyle as well. You know what I mean? Where he's made it to the very pinnacle of the sport, being the UFC champion. He's fought top level guys in the UFC. he's making a bucket load of money from what I've heard each fight. Like, I mean, the $1 million paycheck is not even really relevant. Like, you know, he just needs a couple of fights and he's making way more than that. So, I mean, those factors do come into play. But I have to prepare for the best version of Anthony Pettis. Like, you know, I have to prepare for the guy that's fighting Ben Henderson for the title the time he armbarred him. That's the guy I'm competing against. Like, you know, because at the end of the day, he's in here trying to prove that he is that person still. That's the only reason why he is stepping in and into PFL and looking to reinvent himself. Like, why else is he doing it? He's doing it because he wants to show everybody that he's still that version of himself. And I need to prove otherwise in 4 weeks' time. So it's definitely a factor. And I feel like my style probably isn't the greatest for him.
I agree.
But I'm going to go in here and just give the best version of myself. And that's what's important.
I want to just go back to that. That was really interesting what you said there. And obviously, you know, you're studying psychology. It's something that you've really taken on board over the last 3-4 years, especially. You want to obviously go study clinical psychology after your MMA career or towards the end part of your MMA career. That's really interesting to me because it's something we sort of talked about, you know, guys like Anthony Pettis, like Conor McGregor, who've made these, you know, huge fight purses, you know, took a lot from sponsors in the sport. Do you think really, like, if you're in a submission and it's at the back of your mind and subconsciously you know that you have that money in the bank, that it's easier for you maybe to say, you know, I'll tap out and save myself for another day? Is that maybe part of the thought process with these guys?
I feel like that's the case. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's very hard to stay hungry. Like, there's a big difference with having no money. You haven't got the houses, you haven't got the cars, you haven't got the stability and the backup money that you're trying to develop something, not just for yourself, but for the people around you that you care about. Once you've established your status and you have all the materialistic things that come as a bypass of that, it's hard to keep yourself motivated, for sure. Like, you know, like, I mean, there has to be a deeper purpose to you competing. And I mean, once I feel like there's a couple of losses, I mean, there has been a trend not only with the last 2 fights with Anthony Pettis, but I feel like towards the end of his UFC career, you could see he was 1 loss here. Yeah. Like, you know, it was just the hunger wasn't there, like, you know. But again, he's a very dangerous guy, like, you know, so I'm not going to take anything for granted. Like, I mean, he's an amazing striker. But I feel like taking him into those deep waters, which I feel like I'm good at, is the key, you know.
I agree with you. I think your style, you know, you're I hope you don't mind me saying this, you're gritty, you know, you're good everywhere, you're solid everywhere. I think, you know, the fights we saw against, you know, Norman Park, I thought you probably nearly won that fight. You know, the Peter Queally fight. And, you know, you're a bit of a nightmare, really. That's the way I sort of look at you. When you're in the cage, I mean it in the best possible way, you know, for the opponent. But, you know, is your style a total utter pain in the ass for Anthony Pettis? He doesn't really deal well with a guy with the pressure you sort of exert on guys. Do you really sort of feel that way?
Yeah, I do feel like that, to be honest with you. I tend to adapt to whatever opponents I have, and I feel like that there's one thing that I've developed, and, you know, I have to credit this to Team Rhino, training in Team Rhino. I was never like that before I joined that gym. When I was training back in SBG, I was kind of like an elusive outside fighter. I used to circle around the outside a lot and try and use my foot movement. Andy just kind of, he's like a bit of an army sergeant. He's going to drill it into you to put the pressure. He is. I don't know if you've ever visited a training session.
Oh, I have. Yeah, I have.
He's like, you know, he's a bit mad, like, you know. So ever since I trained there, I just have this real gritty, I'm walking you down mindset, like, you know, with obviously calculation. So I definitely feel like it's not the ideal style for Pettis, especially if he wants to look good, like, you know, which is something that you can't let happen, like, really.
Yeah, it's like, you know, as I said to you, yeah, you can't give Anthony any sort of time in there. Yeah, I just think it's a great fight, and I'm massively looking forward to it. Like PFL season as well, man. A million bucks on the line. How do you mentally prepare for that when you know you're only like 3-4 fights away from potentially winning $1 million bucks? Like it's batshit crazy.
It is, isn't it? I'm not really thinking about that, to be honest. I'm thinking just about the like I have, of course, I'm a prize fighter, like, you know what I mean. But like, I could make money doing anything else that doesn't revolve around people trying to smash my face in. I mean, like I am doing this because I love the sport. Like, so I mean, tomatoes. It's a nice bypass. Like, I'm not a very materialistic guy. Like, I could get by on the dole every week, like, and live a very happy life. You know what I mean? That's just the way I am. Like, so I feel like it's a nice incentive, but it's not everything to me. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't think it really has an effect on me as much as it would others. But you know, I wouldn't say others. I think a lot of people are kind of like that. Like, some people value the 1 million, like, I'm only in it for that, and some people are like, yeah, I take it or leave it, but I'll just do it because I love it. That's the type of guy I am. Like, so, but yeah, it is batshit crazy, and I would like $1 million too. So the whole I'd be getting a whole bar of bites again. The whole round would be on me if that was the case.
Good stuff. It's a really exciting time. I feel like, again, for Irish MMA. You know, we've guys fighting in sort of every promotion now all over the planet. You turn on a broadcast, you know, from whether it be UFC, whether it be PFL, Bellator MMA, you know, UAE Warriors. I think, you know, Will Fleury's fighting there tomorrow night. There's a number of guys in action every weekend. It feels like, and I know you were part of sort of that first sort of coming, but it feels like it's really exciting times again, I feel, for Irish MMA, isn't it? It just feels good. It feels like we're all over the shop.
It is. And you know what I feel?
We're like rats, Myles. We're like rats.
We are. Well, it's like anytime... the penny only dropped there now for a second. Huh? Yeah, it is a really exciting time. It is. And do you know what I find was really funny as well? My good friend Mick Brennan actually told me about this, is that Peter's now fighting Ben Henderson
that's correct,
in Dublin. And like, obviously Ben and Anthony Pettis had their little back and forth kind of fights as well. So it's just kind of worked out a bit crazy, that actually.
It has, hasn't it? Hasn't it? Yeah. It's an absolute batshit crazy at the moment. But listen, man, I really appreciate you taking the time out to stop by and speak to me. I'm massively looking forward to this fight. I think the Irish MMA community are as well, and it's going to be on Channel 4. We're going to be able to watch it, so that's even, you know, a bigger bonus. And all their build up will be on the PFL YouTube channel as well. And go give Myles an follow on Instagram and keep up to date with everything that's going on with him. Myles, I appreciate it, man. I'm massively looking forward to this scrap, and just looking forward to it, man. And great to see you back in there.
Thanks very much, Niall. Thanks for having me. It was great to chat to you again.
If you want to see more videos like this, do hit the subscribe button and also the notification button so you don't miss any future updates. You can also catch us on social media, and also give the video a thumbs up. It does help. Thanks, guys.